Hello, my amazing learners, and welcome back to the Wisdom English podcast. My name is Sarah, and today I'm going to talk about something incredibly important: how you can speak English better than ever before. If you've ever felt stuck in your English learning journey, like no matter how much you study, speaking still feels difficult and intimidating, I want you to know that you're not alone. So many learners feel the exact same way. But here's the good news. You can improve. And it doesn't have to take years. In fact, with the right techniques and a slight shift in your mindset, you can start speaking better right away. And make sure you stay with me through each chapter, because at the very end, I'll share the most powerful mindset shift that makes all of these techniques truly work. Chapter 1. The start of the journey. Have you ever wondered what truly separates fluent speakers from beginners? It's a question I used to ask myself all the time. Is it that they know thousands more words? Is it that they have perfect grammar? The answer might surprise you. It's not that fluent speakers know all the words or never make mistakes. In fact, they make small mistakes all the time in natural conversation. The real difference is confidence. Fluent speakers are confident in their ability to communicate their message, even when they don't know every single word or grammar rule. They don't freeze when they forget a word. They find another way to say it. They keep the conversation moving forward. And that continuous flow is what makes them sound fluent. Imagine this for a moment. You're in a conversation, and the words just flow from you. You're not hesitating. You're not mentally translating. You're not worrying about grammar. You're just connecting with another person. That is the goal, and it is absolutely achievable for you. Let me share something that might surprise you. Small changes in how you practice can make a huge difference. You don't have to completely change your study routine overnight. You don't need to learn thousands of new vocabulary words this week. What you need are a few simple, powerful techniques that will help you build the habit of speaking with confidence. So, what's the first step? It's building the foundation of fluency, and that foundation is your self-belief. If you don't feel confident, it's incredibly hard to speak well. But confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, through practice. And I'm going to show you how. Here's the truth. Anyone can speak better than they did before, no matter their current level. If you've struggled with English for years, or if you've been afraid to speak, this podcast is for you. We'll go step by step, breaking down the process into easy techniques that you can start using today. And by the end, you'll be speaking English more confidently than ever before. But before we dive into the specific techniques, let's talk about why confidence matters so much. When you're confident, you're not afraid to make mistakes. You see mistakes not as failures, but as learning opportunities. You speak freely, and even when you mess up, you learn from it and move on. Every time you practice speaking, you're building not just your language skills, but also your confidence muscle. There's a quote that I absolutely love from Winston Churchill that says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." This is especially true when it comes to speaking English. Your journey will have ups and downs. The more you speak, the more confident you become, and the more your fluency naturally improves. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But Sarah, what if I don't feel confident yet? Don't worry, that's totally normal. Confidence comes from doing. You don't wait to feel confident before you act. You act in order to feel confident. The more you speak, the better you'll get, and the more confident you'll naturally feel. So let me give you a small challenge to get started. Set a goal to speak English every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You can practice with a friend, a family member, or even by yourself in front of a mirror. The key is to start speaking, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Over the next chapters, we're going to break down exactly how you can build that confidence and improve your speaking. We'll cover listening techniques, shadowing, repetition, and even some fun ways to practice. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress. Chapter 2: The Power of Active Listening. Now that we've talked about the importance of building confidence, let's dive into the first key technique that will truly help you speak better: active listening. You might think that speaking fluently is all about talking, but here's the truth. You can't speak well unless you listen well. Listening is the absolute foundation of fluency. Think about this. When you listen, you're not just passively hearing words. Your brain is doing incredible work. You're learning how sentences flow naturally. You're learning how native speakers connect their ideas. You're learning how certain words are pronounced in fast, connected speech. When you master the skill of listening, you'll find that speaking becomes so much easier and more natural. It's like filling your brain with the right tools and blueprints before you start building a house. But not just any listening will do. You need to practice active listening. This means really paying attention to what you hear. You don't just let the words pass by you while you're thinking about something else. You focus on them, you analyze them, you break them down, and you absorb how they're used. Here's an example of how to practice this. The next time you're listening to a podcast, a story, or even a conversation, pay attention to how the speaker is structuring their sentences. Are they using short, simple phrases or long, complex sentences? How do they pronounce certain words? What is their rhythm and intonation like? Active listening means noticing these small details and learning from them. One of the best ways to practice active listening is through a technique called shadowing. Shadowing is where you listen to a speaker and immediately repeat what they say, just a second or two behind them. It's like being their shadow, following their words as closely as you can. This is an incredibly powerful way to improve both your listening and speaking at the same time, because it connects your ear directly to your mouth. Here's how you can practice shadowing effectively. First, choose a podcast or a story. Pick something that's not too long or too difficult. You can find great stories and podcasts for beginners right here on our YouTube channel. Second, listen carefully. Start by listening to just one short sentence or phrase. Pay close attention to the speaker's rhythm, their tone, and their pronunciation. Third, pause and repeat. As soon as the speaker finishes the sentence, pause the audio and repeat what they said, trying to match their speed and intonation exactly. Keep going. Repeat this process for a few minutes each day. You will be amazed at how quickly your own pronunciation and fluency improve over time. Shadowing helps you get used to speaking without overthinking. You're not translating in your head. You're simply training your mouth to produce the sounds you hear, and this builds fluency naturally. But let me tell you something very important. Don't worry about being perfect when you're shadowing. You are going to make mistakes. Maybe you'll miss a word, or maybe you'll pronounce something wrong. That's perfectly okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to get your mouth and your brain comfortable with speaking without long, hesitant pauses. The more you shadow, the more fluent you will become. I remember one of my students, Anna, who was really shy about speaking English. She was so afraid of making mistakes that she rarely spoke at all. I introduced her to shadowing, and it changed everything for her. She started practicing every day by repeating sentences from her favorite podcasts. At first, she struggled and felt a little silly. But after a few weeks, she told me that she noticed her sentences in real conversations started to flow more easily. Shadowing helped her build the confidence she needed, and soon she was speaking without that constant fear. There's a great quote by the author Stephen Covey that fits perfectly here. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Active listening and shadowing teach you to truly listen with the intent to understand. And when you deeply understand the sound and structure of the language, speaking becomes so much easier. Chapter 3. The repetition technique. We've already discussed the power of active listening and shadowing. Now, let's move on to a technique that may sound simple, but is incredibly effective: repetition. You might wonder, why is repeating things so important? The answer is simple. Repetition is how your brain moves information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. It's how you make things automatic. Think of it like this. When you repeat words, phrases, and sentences, you are training your brain to remember them quickly and effortlessly. The more you repeat something, the more natural it feels, and eventually, you'll be able to say it without thinking at all. It's the same process you used when you learned to ride a bike, or when you memorized the lyrics to your favorite song. You did it over and over until it became second nature. Speaking English is no different. Here's something interesting about fluency. Fluency isn't just about knowing a lot of words. It's about being able to use the words you know quickly and easily. Repetition helps you get to that point where you don't have to stop and think about grammar or vocabulary. You just speak. Let me share a story about one of my students, Paul. Paul knew a lot of English words from reading, but he often hesitated when speaking because he had to think for a long time about what to say. I introduced him to the repetition technique. Every day, Paul would take 5 common English phrases, like, "How's it going?" Or, "What do you think about that?" And he would repeat each one 5 times out loud. It seemed boring at first, but after a week, Paul noticed something amazing. He could say those phrases easily and without any hesitation in real conversations. Repetition had worked its magic. So, how can you use repetition to improve your speaking? Let's break it down into a few simple methods. First, repeat common phrases. Start by picking phrases that you use often. Repeat these phrases out loud multiple times. You can do this while you're walking, cooking, or even in front of a mirror. The goal is to make these phrases feel completely natural. Second, use the mirror technique. This is a great way to practice repetition and build confidence. Stand in front of a mirror and say the same sentence 5 times. Watch your mouth as it moves. Focus on your pronunciation. Get used to seeing yourself speak English. This technique not only improves your fluency but also builds your confidence because it's like practicing with someone else. Third, you can combine shadowing with repetition for double the impact. When you shadow a podcast, repeat the sentences as closely as you can. Then, after you've shadowed a few sentences, repeat those same sentences again on your own without the audio. This is where the power of repetition really shines. It turns what you hear into what you can easily say. There's a quote by the philosopher Aristotle that explains this perfectly. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Repeating phrases and sentences turns speaking English into a habit, and that habit is what leads to fluency. Fourth, you can record yourself. Choose a short passage from a story. You can find plenty of stories on our YouTube channel. Read it aloud and record yourself speaking. Then, listen to the recording and repeat the sentences again. This not only helps with fluency but also lets you hear your own progress over time. And fifth, remember to take small steps to make big progress. You don't have to repeat long paragraphs or difficult phrases. Start small. Pick simple sentences like, I'm going to the store, I like reading books, or can you help me? And practice them daily. Small, consistent practice will lead to big improvements in your fluency. Chapter 4. Making practice fun. Speaking English doesn't have to feel like a chore. In fact, the more fun you have while practicing, the faster you will improve. When learning is enjoyable, you naturally want to do it more often. This chapter is all about turning your English practice into something you look forward to every day. Imagine this. Instead of forcing yourself to sit down and study, you actually enjoy speaking English. It's not about studying grammar rules or memorizing word lists. It's about having fun and feeling excited to use what you've learned. But how do you make practice fun? Let's explore a few techniques that will turn your speaking practice into an activity you love. First, try role-playing. This is where you act out different situations as if you're really there. It's one of the best ways to make speaking English fun. You can pretend to be ordering coffee at a cafe, having a job interview, or meeting new friends at a party. By role-playing, you're practicing real-life conversations in a low-pressure, enjoyable way. You can do this alone or with a friend. The great thing about role-playing is that it helps you get comfortable with everyday phrases and situations. Plus, it feels more like acting than studying, so it's much more enjoyable. Second, talk about what you love. Another way to make practice fun is by talking about your passions. Think about something you love, whether it's a hobby, a sport, a favorite movie, or a book. When you talk about things that interest you, the words come more easily, and you're more motivated to keep speaking. For example, if you love cooking, try talking about your favorite recipes in English. Describe how to make your favorite dish, or pretend you're teaching someone how to cook. The key is to pick a topic that excites you. There's a great quote by Albert Einstein. Creativity is intelligence having fun. When you practice speaking about things you love, you're using your creativity, and that makes the process more enjoyable and effective. Third, play speaking games. Who said language learning can't be a game? There are lots of speaking games you can play, either by yourself or with a partner. These games challenge you to think and speak in English, but in a fun and lighthearted way. For example, you can play 20 questions. Think of an object and your partner has to ask yes or no questions to figure out what it is. Or you can play charades. Act out a word or phrase in English without speaking, and your partner has to guess what it is. These games force you to think quickly and speak without overthinking. Fourth, you can practice with podcasts and stories. Listening to stories and podcasts not only improves your listening skills, but it also gives you great material to talk about. After listening, try summarizing the story in your own words, or discuss it with a friend. You can find many great stories and podcasts on our YouTube channel, which are designed to help learners like you improve their English. Choose a topic that interests you, listen to the story, and then practice speaking about it. Fifth, change your environment. Sometimes, a simple change in your environment can make practice more exciting. Instead of always sitting at a desk, try practicing in different places. Go for a walk and describe what you see in English. Sit in a cafe and pretend you're having a conversation with the barista. The idea is to bring your practice into the real world. By changing where you practice, you keep things fresh and interesting. And finally, don't forget to celebrate your progress. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Did you speak in English for 5 minutes without stopping? Did you successfully role-play a conversation? Celebrate that. Recognizing your progress is a great way to stay motivated. The famous psychologist B.F. Skinner said, "A person who feels appreciated will always do more than what is expected." This applies to yourself as well. The more you appreciate your own progress, the more motivated you'll be to keep improving. Chapter 6: Finding Speaking Partners. By now, you've learned how to break through speaking blocks with techniques like self-talk, shadowing, and role-playing. But what if you want to take your fluency even further? One of the best ways to do this is by practicing with speaking partners. Finding someone to speak English with, whether online or in person, can make a huge difference in your progress and your motivation. But you might be thinking, what if I don't have anyone around me who speaks English? Don't worry, in today's world, there are more opportunities than ever before. First, you can use language exchange apps. There are many amazing apps on your phone designed specifically for this purpose. You can find partners who are native English speakers and are trying to learn your native language. You can chat with them through text, send voice messages, or have video calls to practice your speaking skills. These apps often have built-in tools for correcting each other's language, which can be very helpful. Another great option is to join online communities. There are countless online forums, social media groups, and communities where people from all over the world gather to practice English. You can join these groups to meet people, ask questions, and find speaking partners. This can provide you with a lot of support and motivation on your learning journey. You can also look for English-speaking events or clubs in your local community. Many cities have groups where people meet to practice speaking English. This is a fantastic way to meet new people in person and practice your skills in a real-world setting. And finally, don't forget that a speaking partner can also be a tutor or a teacher. If you want more structured practice and expert feedback, you can find affordable tutors online on various platforms. Even just 1 or 2 sessions with a professional can give you valuable insights into where you can improve. The key is to find what works for you. The more you practice speaking with real people, the faster your confidence will grow. Conclusion: the final secret. We have covered so much today. We've talked about building confidence, the power of active listening and repetition, how to make practice fun, how to break through speaking blocks, and how to find speaking partners. But as I promised at the beginning, there is one final mindset shift, one secret that ties all of these techniques together and makes them truly effective. The secret is this: you must learn to focus on communication, not perfection. So many learners get stuck because they are chasing an impossible goal to speak perfectly. They worry about every small grammar mistake, every slight mispronunciation. But fluency is not about being perfect. Fluency is about connection. It's about being able to share your ideas, your feelings, and your personality with another person. When you shift your focus from "I must not make any mistakes" to "I must do my best to communicate my message," everything changes. The fear starts to fade away, because you realize that people will understand you even if you are not perfect. In fact, people will connect with you more when you are being your authentic, imperfect self. So my final challenge to you is this. For the next week, I want you to enter every English conversation with only one goal: to communicate. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about mistakes. Just focus on connecting with the other person. Try this one mindset shift, and I promise you will feel a sense of freedom and confidence that you have never felt before. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. I hope these stories and techniques have inspired you. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Wisdom English podcast channel to watch our next videos.